Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to use your cedar beading kit to do an easy flat stitch project. Here's our template. It's all ready to go. You can see right here we have the pattern on paper stapled onto our felt base. Then we'll just need our thread and needle as well as our beads. You'll need to pick out a couple colors. I picked the yellow for the center of our flower, the dark red to use for the petals, and then the bead soup to do the edge. Once you've got all your supplies together, we can get started. Now, an important item not in this kit that I will recommend is some beeswax. You can buy this anywhere. I got mine on Etsy. This is going to help a lot with flat stitch if this is your first time or if you just struggle in general doing one needle. Grab 2 to 3 feet of your thread and trim it off, then thread your needle and pull the thread about halfway through. And then I'm going to show you how to do my quick knot method. Now that our needle is threaded, we're going to start by putting some beeswax on our thread. So I'm just taking my block and then I'm taking my thread, which has been folded over like this. You can see both lengths are about the same. Then I'm going to pull the entire thread through like this, using my thumb to press the threads down against the beeswax to make sure that it's all coated. Then squeeze it between your fingers and run your fingers over it one time so there's no clumps. Now for the quick knot. Take one end of your thread, then you're going to hold it on your needle and twist around like so. What you'll see is we get a big collection of thread on the needle like this. Now you're going to pinch it. I find the easiest is to use your fingernail and pinch it into the side of your other finger, just like this. And then pull it all the way down to the end, and ta-da, we have our knot done. We are doing single thread for this, so we're only knotting one side. I find double can get knotted and be difficult. Okay, so like I said, the project is ready to go. We can see our nice stiffened felt on the back, our pattern on the front, and these staples holding it down. So I'm just going to push from the bottom of the project up to the top, like this, right along the line that is the outline for the center of the flower. Now we're going to grab some beads. I'd recommend for beginners to start with 6 beads at a time. This amount I find is good, and as you grow and get better, you can start to use a few more beads if you're comfortable. So I'm just loading up the beads on my needle, like so, and counting, double check, we have 6. Perfect. My method for circles is to bead the outline and then work your way in. So when we're doing a round shape like this, I'm going to utilize gravity. So you can see I have my project kind of tipped up. So it's straight up and down, letting gravity push those beads down and then just placing them with my needle and using my finger to hold my thread. Now we're just going to tack at the end, just a tiny smidge past the last bead. Like so. Pull your thread. You don't need to pull tight, just pull until the thread is all the way through. Now I'm going to use my fingernails to help me curve the beads to follow that line a little bit better. You don't need long nails. You can use just the curve of the end of your fingertip, but I find nails do help. Now I'm going to puncture through 2 beads back. You can see it'll take a couple tries with the paper in the way because you can't quite see what you're doing. Then we're going to tack down between the 4th and 5th bead. When it comes to tacking, you do not need to pull hard. Like you see, I just pull the thread until it goes down between the beads. Because every time we tack, it's going to pull that thread tighter. So you don't have to worry about getting it really tight. Just pull it loosely, and then once it's through, you're all good. And you'll see I had that little knot. Just pull it apart with your fingers. Use your needle if you need to as well. And the last step finally is to come up at the beginning where we started, and then put our needle through all the beads. I like to do this with outlines because it helps to keep it in place as well as getting your beads nice and flat and straight. That way now we can just continue because we've gone through all the beads. So again, we're going to grab 6 and we're going to repeat this process. So I'm going to show it to you one more time and show you again how I kind of use gravity to help me out. So I tip the project to the side and then curving the thread and holding it with my thumb, I'm able to hold it where I want it to sit. Like so, pull through and tack. Again, utilizing my finger or my fingernail to create that curve, so it's super easy to follow the pattern. Repeat this all the way around the circle until we get back to the beginning, and I'll show you what I do to make sure that it fits properly. All right, and now that we've gotten back to the end like so, I'm going to show you when I'm measuring how I'm doing it. Again, I'm using gravity, I am tilting it, and then I am measuring with a bead, and I added one more bead. So you'll see when I pull it, it should be a little bit shorter than the pattern, or about the same as the pattern. You obviously don't want it to be too long. If you find that so, just undo your last stitch and go back and take a bead off. And then tack it down like usual. Then we're going to fill in the inside, doing the exact same thing. And we're just going to keep filling, and once we get to the end of a section, just like this one, again, we're going to measure and then connect it. So you can see I can possibly fit one little bead there. Just make sure it is a little one. This is the great thing about check seed beads, is you can easily find ones that are a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller to perfectly fit in the space you need, which is actually a great thing about the inconsistency. Having that little bit of inconsistency is actually very useful, as I just described. Again, as you bead, make sure not to pull things too tightly. Just keep practicing. You can also put your fingers over the beads and rub them a little bit to get them sitting nice and flat where you want them to be. But in general, don't worry too much. If Creator wanted everything to be perfect, they would have made it that way. So we do not have to be perfect either. Flat stitch is a really good project because it is something you can do a little bit more mindlessly. So I find it's a good activity to do with friends if you're needing some socializing, or it can be a nice activity to do by yourself on a rainy day, or maybe just watching a movie. Either way, however beading works for you and however you like to do it that way. It's all about having fun and creating something that makes you happy. And finally, to finish the flower, I'm putting 2 little beads in the center. And ta-da, look at our perfect little flower and our perfect circle. I think it looks fantastic. I'm hoping yours is looking really good too. I bet it is. And next, we're going to do the outline for the petals. So I'm using the bead soup to do my outline. And again, we're going to grab around 6. And we're going to be doing the exact same thing to go around the petals. They are a similar circular shape, so you shouldn't have too much trouble with this. And again, when we get to the end, make sure to measure out your beads and add and take away beads if necessary. Now, at about this time for me, I'm starting to run out of thread, so I'm going to show you what to do when that happens. So when you get low on thread, approximately 6 to 8 inches, then you're going to just put your needle down back to the back side of the project, the underside. Here's what it looks like on the back so far. Then I'm going to take my needle, just put it a little bit under the felt base, like this, and pull it through to tie off. I like to do this because it really anchors the stitch down onto the felt. And then I'll probably do a second knot as well, just to make sure it's really secure, and then trim it off. Oh, it's looking pretty cute so far. Now we can finally get rid of the pesky paper. So I'm going to take my needle and I'm just going to score around the edge. So I'm just puncturing the needle through the paper, trying to give it little rips. So that way it's all perforated and we can easily rip off this excess paper. And then I colored it in with red marker. This is going to make any gaps less noticeable when we fill in with the red, especially because it's very dark against the white. Now I'm going to teach you a new stitch. This is the Pebble Stitch. So we're just going to start anywhere within our petals, and then we're going to add our pebbles. So taking one bead at a time, we're going to add in our beads to create this stitch. So just tack right next to it, any direction, doesn't matter. And then again, use your needle if you have any difficulty with your thread. I had a lot here, problem solved. There's our first bead. Okay, and now I'm gonna go right next to that bead, just a little bit over, and grab another bead right there and then put it next to that one. So the main trick to pebble stitch is to work in groups like this, to work in the same section and slowly fill the entire project, and to take your beads and to put them in different directions against each other. So you can see right now that I'm trying to put them in different directions on different sides. And this is going to create a cobblestone effect, which is why we call it the pebble stitch. Now this method takes a little bit more time since we're going one bead at a time, but I also find it really easy and kind of a satisfying project to do. And this stitch turns into a very cool effect that's super unique. You can see it starting to take form, and you can kind of see how the beads are kind of all turned in slightly different directions to create this pebble effect as opposed to straight lines. And in a moment here, I'll show you what our first finished petal looks like. Ta-da! You can see it turns out really cool. And two, boom, and finally all done. This took me 2 hours in total. So as a beginner, it's probably going to take you a little bit longer than that. And of course, you can feel free to use the regular stitch if you want. The pebble is just a fun way to kind of spice up your design. Now we're going to cut off all this excess felt around the flower. I'm going to leave a little bit of space between where I'm cutting and the edge of the beads just to make sure I don't accidentally snip any threads. Once we've trimmed off all the excess, I'm going to use a lighter to further melt that edge down a little bit more. You can see it's kind of fuzzy on the edge, and I could get it a little bit closer to the beads. Using a lighter is a good way to do that because it's going to melt the edge down. It also helps seal the edge, so it's very strong, and then gets it nice and up close without causing any damage. Again, just be careful. And here is how it's looking. You can kind of see how the edge is slightly melted and a little bit more secure, as well as less fuzzy. Now, what do you do with your project? One suggestion is to pop it on a purse like this, and I simply glue mine using E6000 glue and let it cure overnight. And there you go, you have a beaded purse. And then our next option is to make it into a pin. So I'm going to show you how to do that now. First off, we'll need a broach pin. So this is not included in your kit, but they're easy to get on Amazon or at a craft store. Then I am going to use some leather for the back. This is from Beaded Dreams. Then we're going to cut out our leather to fit our little project. So I'm just cutting off some of the excess to get started. And then I'm going to trace around the flowers so we can do a more precise cut. So once you've traced, then you can do that trimming and get all the excess. Now we're going to get our pin ready. So I'm just lining it up on the back of the leather for where I want it to sit on our patch. And then I'm going to mark it using a Sharpie. And I'm just going to mark right next to where the hinge is and where the little catch is on the other side. I'm just putting a dot on either end so I know where I want to cut so that my pin can be partially underneath. And I just drew little lines here. I wouldn't recommend you do that because it turned out kind of ugly. Oops. Now we're going to cut these lines open. So I'm just folding it in half on the lines like so I can snip and cut the whole line out. Snip and snip. And here's what it's looking like. You can see right there, we've got our holes. Now I'm going to open up the broach pin and we're going to put it in. So I'm going to start with the needle end and carefully place that through the hole on the right side. Like so. Pull the whole mechanism right through and then do the same with the other side. And it should just pop right through. Make sure your hole is just big enough to squish it through, but not too big that there's any exposed felt. and this is how it's looking. Perfect. Now I'm going to take some Gorilla Glue gel, super glue, which is my favorite to use for these kind of projects, and we're going to glue it onto the back of the beadwork. To start, I'm going to put a little bit of glue under the broach pin between it and the leather so that it is nice and secure there. Press, be careful not to get any glue on your fingers, it is super glue. Then we can glue the whole thing onto the back of our beadwork like so. Make sure everything is lined up well. Now with Gorilla Glue, you don't need a lot. It's going to go a long way, so I'm just going to do a couple little dabs here and there so you can see a couple to get that brooch pin and then some more to secure the leather around. Don't get glued too close to the edge or you won't be able to do the edging. Make sure to get it in the middle of the project and just a little bit here and there. Really, again, the glue goes a long way. Do not use too much. And then I also trimmed off a little bit more of the excess just to make sure everything was looking really nice and clean. Now you'll need about 4 to 6 feet of thread. Thread your needle, do another quick knot, and then we can start doing our edge. So I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to start in the middle of the petal, and I'm going to put my needle between the leather and the felt, like so, and I'm just going to make sure my knot is tucked in. Perfect. Now I'm going to grab my beads. We're going to use the bead soup again, and I'm going to grab 3 beads. Dependent on what you used as your backing material, you may need more or less. Then I'm going to stab from the back through to the front, like so, really nice and up and close to that edge. Like so, and then just place the beads. You'll see it start to come to life after a few more stitches. Now I'm going to grab 3 more and just keep doing this. So this is a wrapped edge. So basically we're just wrapping our beads to cover up all that and stitch everything so it is nicely secured. And here is how it's starting to look. One more time, 3 beads through both layers right up next to our outline. This method is super easy. We are working with a more complex shape though, so I'm going to show you what to do when we get to those little inner corners. Okay, now that we've made our way into the corner, I'm going to go ahead and grab just 2 beads this time, like so. And then I'm going to go all the way through, again like normal, and pull it tight, and I'm going to try and push those beads up against the edge like that. Then I'm going to go through those 2 beads like so, and then we're going to add 1 more bead at the bottom. So we're grabbing our next bead, and I'm just going to add him to the bottom like so. Again, trying to come up nice and close. I find this was a good method to try and get through those corners versus trying to stack a lot of beads in there. It can be kind of tricky, but just do whatever works for you. If you're finding that you can fit your beads in there just fine, continuing with the regular wrap, then go for it. Really, when it comes to edging like this, just do what works best for you. And once we get to the end, when we just have a little tiny gap left to go, then I'm just going to fill it in, and then we can finally tie off. So I'm just going to push my needle from front to back to get us to the back side of the project so that our knot is less noticeable. Adjust the beads if you need to, like so. And then I'm just going to do my disappearing knot. So I'm going to take my needle, I'm going to put it just underneath the thread. I'm not going to go through the felt or the leather. Then I'm going to wrap my thread around my needle and pull, and this is going to create a knot like so. And then I like to just put the needle up through the beads, and this is going to help make that knot go inside the bead and disappear so we barely see it. Then trim off, and then I'm also going to burn the edge of the thread with my lighter as well. Ta-da! There we go. Our project is all done. Woohoo! Now this project overall did take me, I think, about up to 4 hours. I was doing this tutorial, so it would take a little bit longer, but expect the project to take around 4 hours when you are working on it. And that's it. I really hope you loved the video. Please subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and more videos are coming soon. As always, have a beautiful day.